All right, so today we're going to go over while loops. While loops in Python are used to repeatedly execute a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. The loop continues to run until the condition becomes false. The general syntax of a while loop in Python is we have our while condition, right? It starts the loop declaration. We have the condition. It's an expression that is evaluated before each iteration of the loop. If this condition evaluates to true, the loop body is executed. If it evaluates to false, the loop terminates. We have the colon. It indicates the beginning of the indented block of code that will execute repeatedly as long as the condition is true. Then we have the actual indented block of code. The block of code that executes repeatedly as long as the condition remains true. This block continues to execute until the condition becomes false. So let's go over some examples. Here we have, let me update this on my interpreter. Okay. So here we have a basic while loop, right? In this example, the loop continues to execute as long as I is less than or equal to 5. Inside the loop, I is incremented by 1 with each iteration, and the loop prints the current value of I, right? So in the first iteration, I is equal to 1, we print out I, we print out 1, and Y gets incremented by 1, so it's now 2, goes back to the top of the while loop. It evaluates the condition, I is now equal to 2, 2 is still less than or equal to 5, so we print out 2, and we increment I by 1, it's now equal to 3. We go back to the top of the while loop, we evaluate the condition, 3 is less than or equal to 5, it is, so we're able to go into the body, print out 3, add 1 to 3, go to the top of the loop, and so on and so forth, until we add 1 to I equals to 5. If we add 1 to it, it'll be 6. 6 is no longer less than or equal to 5, so we break out of the while loop and we're done. Another example is using a Boolean flag to control the loop. This example demonstrates how to use a Boolean flag to control when the loop should terminate. The loop repeatedly asks the user for input until the user enters quit, setting flag to false and breaking out of the loop. So let's look at that logic. Here, flag is equal to true, while flag is equal to true, and here we don't have an equal sign, right? It's going to automatically determine true. It's going to look for true. If we wanted it to look for false, we would place equals equals false, right? But here we can just stick with true. Flag is true, so we go into the body of the while loop. We ask the user to input quit to exit. If this will prompt the user in the terminal, right, or whatever application they're using to type something in. If whatever they type in, which gets recorded to user input, is equal to quit, then the flag is updated to false. We exit the loop, we evaluate, is flag equal to true? It won't be equal to true, and it breaks out. Otherwise, if the user has put in anything other than quit, we're just going to print out you entered whatever you printed out, right? So this will go over and over and over until we explicitly get our quit value. So in the previous example, we used a variable to store whether the user wanted to continue or not, right? In this example, we're going to go over an infinite loop with a break statement. Here, our for loop is always evaluating whether it's equal to true, right? So while we're true, keep going with the loop. And what this does effectively is create an infinite loop that continues until the user enters quit. The loop can be terminated explicitly using a break statement, right, when the desired condition is met. So if the user has actually put in quit, we break, right? We're not updating any variable because we're not evaluating a variable. Here it's just static true. So if we've met the condition where we want to break the loop, we use the break command. It breaks out of the loop and it just stops evaluating the loop altogether. Otherwise, if the user never puts in quit, we keep on printing out what they've entered. Let's look at a while loop with a condition check inside. This example demonstrates a while loop where the loop continues as long as num is greater than 0. Inside the loop, num is decremented by 1 in each iteration. The loop also includes a condition to break out of the loop when the num becomes equal to 5. Right, so if at any point we equal to 5, we break out of there. So num is equal to 10, 10 is greater than 0, we print out 10, we decrement from 10. This here is the same, I'm trying to remember how to comment down in Python. This is the same as saying num equals num minus 1, right? Num minus equals 1 is the same thing as num equals num minus 1. So what do we mean by that? Num 10 minus equals 1 will evaluate to 9. It's saying get num, subtract 1 from it, and evaluate itself. This is saying num is equal to 10, subtract 1 from 10, and give us the value from that same object, which will be 9. Same thing as saying 10 is equal to 10 minus 1, which is 9. 9 equals num. This isn't clear, right? Because it's a little bit harder to understand if you're not used to programming, but it is cleaner, it's shorter, it's less writing of code. And once you get used to it, it's really, really handy. It helps you to get through these problems a little bit faster. Here we check, right? We have our condition for if statement to check if num is equal to 5, we break out of there. So this will be 10, we print out 10, subtract 1, 9, 9 is greater than 0, 9, subtract 1, we'll print 8, 7, 6, until we get to 6, right? We print out 6, 6 minus 1 is 5. If 5 is equal to 5, then we break. And we break out of our while loop, and that's why we only get to our output of 6. Some things to keep in mind, right? Care should be taken when using while loops to ensure that the loop's condition eventually becomes false. Otherwise, the loop is going to continue indefinitely, leading to an infinite loop. Your program might get stuck, or it might just error out, or you have to forcibly stop it. It's important to initialize any variables used in the loop condition before entering the loop. As you saw in our previous example, we are initializing the variable outside of the loop. Why? Because if we do it inside, it's going to reset every time the loop gets re-evaluated. And last but not least, while loops are useful when the number of iterations is not known in advance. It depends on some condition being met during runtime. So it makes it different from for loops, right? In a for loop, we would know the number of iterations in advance, or at least the loop would, right? Here, we use a while loop when that condition is unknown to us, and we need to wait till that condition evaluates to something that we're looking for in order to stop the loop.